Have you ever wondered, what is Vote-A-Rama? Have you ever wondered, why do politicians hate Vote-A-Rama so much? Well, if you want to know the answer to both of those questions, this is the video for you. Hello everybody, I'm Justice Graves. If you want to know more about me, check out my other videos on this channel, but today's video has absolutely nothing to do with what I normally am up to. We are talking about Vote-A-Rama. Why? Because it's August 11th, it's 3:14 in the morning, and there is one going on right now. For the second reconciliation bill, I tell you, the second reconciliation bill of 2021, and there is an expectation that we're going to have a third one this year. The first one happened between February 4th to the 5th. The second one is happening from the 10th into the 11th, or it could go to the 12th, depending on how long people actually want to do stuff, because we're going to be talking about the feature of this called Vote-A-Rama. Vote-A-Rama is a feature of the reconciliation process from the 1974 Congressional Budget Act, and that is what this video is all about. If you like this type of content, please like, share, and subscribe. And let's get right into it. I'm going to now switch over. I didn't provide a normal slide deck like I normally do, but what I actually want to do before we get anywhere is I want to show you that there is a Vote-A-Rama going on, as I said, right now. Look at that wonderful Vote-A-Rama. Just going on great in the Senate. It's the second one of this year. So what is so important about Vote-A-Rama? It comes from the Congressional Act of 1974. This allows, when it comes to the federal budget or for budget reconciliation packages, it provides an exception to the normal barrier of the filibuster in the United States Senate. The filibuster, as everybody hopefully knows by now, means that 60 or more senators are required to move forward any piece of legislation during a budget vote, or during a budget reconciliation vote. There can be no filibusters, no holds, and no cloture. I'm not going to get into the specifics of what all of that means, except of course for the obvious filibuster barrier. As I've already talked about, we could see 3 budget reconciliations as of 2021 alone. I'm not going to give opinions on how I feel about the individual budget reconciliations today. We are just talking about Vote-A-Rama as a whole. During Vote-A-Rama, the important thing to know is that Vote-A-Rama continues and only keeps going as long as senators offer amendments. There's ways to group amendments together and to go through in order of them, one by one, through a unanimous consent agenda, or not really unanimous consent agenda, but through unanimous consent, with specific packages drawn up by the majority and the minority party. However, the majority and the minority party almost control none of this, except for the individual members themselves. So, for example, normally the majority leader, whoever that is in the Senate at the time, has effectively super senator status. They can prevent any minority party members from offering amendments. Sometimes a minority leader will work with a majority leader to get 1 or 2 amendments on for a normal piece of legislation. Right now we're not talking about Vote-A-Rama, but we're talking about the normal process. But most of the time, these majority leaders will do something called filling the tree, which effectively fills up the limited amount of amendments that can be made on a motion or on any piece of legislation put forward in a particular scenario. That does not happen under the case of Vote-A-Rama, because under budget reconciliation and under normal budget votes, it's unlimited amendments. So you can't fill a tree. It's not a tree, it's a black hole, essentially. The reason that this is so important, it's not really important, but the reason why a lot of people hate Vote-A-Rama, and I'm one of those people that hates Vote-A-Rama, I'm not going to, hide why, is because Vote-A-Rama, it is completely useless, because at the end of the day, none of the votes held within the Vote-A-Rama period mean anything. And why is that? And I'm going to repeat this several times in this video. At the end of Vote-A-Rama, the last thing that can happen is called colloquially in the Senate a wraparound amendment. What is a wraparound amendment? It is an amendment that erases every other previous amendment. So then why does the Senate go through all of this? Why does it have all of these amendments? Why do these senators take until 2 and 3 and 4 in the morning to do all of this just for it to get washed away because the majority leader says no? And why do they vote and agree to that amendment? Because remember, it has to pass by a majority, that wraparound amendment, and it almost always does. Because VoteARama is a gigantic political weapon. And let us explain. You can see the VoteARama still going on in the Senate right now. That is Dick Durbin, the majority whip, I believe. Yes, that is Dick Durbin. That is from the previous. The New York Times, and all these articles that I'm showing you are going to be in the description. Quote from the New York Times, and this is from earlier this year, I believe. None of the amendments hold the force of law. A budget resolution is essentially a blueprint for Congress, and the measure never goes to the president for a signature. That is true. But the amendments can be used to provide grist for political campaigns. For campaign ads, giving each party the opportunity to force the opposing party's members to take votes on politically delicate topics. It is a lengthy undertaking, there's almost no debate time, and it is not the ideal deliberative experience. Let's go over, and it's such a common thing as a fight. There are sample amendments and sample resolutions for amendments that you can find on the internet, because this is a huge battle-taking process. So I'm going to take a moment before we keep going to explain why is it basically worthless, and why do they use it for campaign ads? Because, for example, let's say we have a senator. We're not going to say what party he's a part of, the majority or the minority, but let's say we have a senator called John Doe, and he puts up a resolution that says, let's direct money to vaporize all lakes and ponds in the United States, which obviously no person would ever agree to doing that because that has no practical consequence, but you could do that. And obviously there's going to be votes of yay or nays. C-SPAN is going to record the entire thing, and it's really the advent of television, the birth of television, that has caused this problem. And because everything is recorded, and because those votes are cast, and because those are permanently cast votes, that means that at any point in time, somebody can make a campaign ad and said, look, Senator John Doe made an amendment that said to get rid of, lakes and ponds with space lasers or something. And you know what? That did happen. But here's the trick. At the end of the whole meeting, that amendment was erased. It passed, but it got erased. And let's say even Mr. John Doe himself makes the amendment to get rid of all amendments. Nobody cares about that part. What everyone cares about is what you did and what you said on the floor of the Senate during that time. So it's basically a gigantic political weapon for people to use, and for people to claim that they did things. By excluding all of the details of it, they can say that they passed these amendments that are so wonderful. But they passed them, but at the end of the day, depending on which party they're on, they may actually vote to erase them, to erase all of what they did, because it's not advantageous within their caucus or their political caucus within the actual Senate to pass certain things, or it's not advantageous for them in order to get reelected. Whatever. And that's why I hate it, because it's basically just gigantic nonsense. So, for example, CNN in an article where they talk about this, they say this is where future political ads are born, of course. Over here it says, and all those votes that senators know are often without substance and yet could come back to haunt them in the next campaign. They use these to vote on any number of issues that are completely useless. And I'm also going to link in this description the 10 things you need to know about VoteARama. It doesn't happen every year. It's over quickly. Once all of those amendments go through, or if they pull them. It's not about making laws, it's more about politics, and it's impossible to lobby because it's instant, and it's basically open mic night. Any senator that says anything out of tonight that they passed, it's basically excluding the truth by not explaining everything that happened. They'll be like, I passed this amendment and it passed on the floor of the Senate. And even tonight, if you actually look at the vote tallies for tonight's amendments that are passing, there's at least one or two of the senators that are actually not on the floor for the majority party right now. And what that means is that the minority party is basically just going to get to pass whatever they want on certain issues, or, some people are just not going to want to take a vote on certain issues. And that means the minority party is going to pass a bunch of stuff. And then at the end of it, majority party leader is just going to come in and just wash the whole thing out. So it's just a really convenient way to make people vote on items that they normally wouldn't vote on without any legal consequence, but with all of the political consequence in the world. And it doesn't solve anything. It's open mic night. Like, share, and subscribe if you like this content, and I really appreciate you listening to me tonight, this morning. Jeez. Thank you.